Good afternoon. I'll never forget the day that Lee and Patty showed up at church. They were on fire. They couldn't wait to get here because, and I said, they were in their mid-70s. We were a contemporary church and they were coming from a very traditional church. And I said, what brings you here? Why would you come to our church? Our average age is only 30 and you know, it's not the same. They began to tell me a very sad story that I have never forgotten, and it has always shaped what I've done. You see, what they did is they had been inviting their neighbor to come to church with them, and their neighbor had always said no. But they kept trying, they kept passing her different things, they kept giving her things, they were friends. And finally one day, she said, I'll go with you tomorrow. And they were so excited, they could not wait to get there. They didn't hardly sleep at all Friday night. And when they got up in the morning, they knocked on her door and they got her in the car and they drove her to church. And they got out of church and they were chattering and they were talking and they were just absolutely loving what was going to happen. And as they walked up to the church, there was these stairs that go up and open up these two wooden big oak doors. One of the doors opened and a greeter stepped out and she pointed to the guest and she says, "We don't come to church dressed like that." And that lady turned beet red. And Lee and Patty turned red out of anger. They all turned and they walked away. And friends said, I'll never go to church with you again. And they showed up at my church the very next week and they said, we will not be back to that church because they do not understand what it means to have a culture of outreach and evangelism, and your church does. So that's why we came. Understanding the mind of an outsider is one of the keys to figuring out how to create a culture of outreach and evangelism. We do it all the time. We speak in insider language. We talk about, I remember the first time I showed up at church, my mom had been raised a Seventh-day Adventist, and she dragged me off to church when I was 12 years old. And I heard this little old lady, she must have been 80 years old. She says to another old lady, she was talking to her, and all of a sudden she called her a dork. And I'm like, what? That little old lady called the other little old lady a dork. What is she thinking? You can't do that. This is church. You're supposed to be nice. And my mom had to explain to me that she was talking about Dorcas. See, we do it all the time. We talk about the GC. We talk about tithes and offering. We talk about Loam and Linda. We talk about cradle rolls. Why do we roll cradles around? We speak in insider language. We have to explain what we're talking about. I had a lady one time at my church. She'd been going to church for 2 years. And she came to me and she said, Raj, who is Alan B. White? I want to know who he is. He gets quoted all the time in Sabbath school. Who is Alan? I said, you've been coming here 2 years and you don't know that Alan is Ellen and it's a woman, not a guy? What are we doing? So I don't use phrases like my favorite author or Sister White or the GC. I try to explain what I'm talking about because that my church members understand what I'm trying to do, and the outsiders that are visiting us at church aren't confused by what's going on. There's 5 key things that we do to create a culture of outreach and evangelism. The first one starts with redemptive friendships. It's about getting into the community one-on-one. We talk about it almost every week. Let's get into the community. Let's build friendships. Let's have a barbecue and invite our next door neighbor over. Let's play volleyball in the front yard. Let's go for a hike together and let's invite our unchurched friends to go with us. Building redemptive friendships is about rubbing shoulders with people who don't yet know Jesus. Building friendships is one of the most important things we do because it tells people that they matter. See, I had built a friendship with my next door neighbor. We would do things together as families. We would go out to eat together. We went to a Michael Card concert once together. We did some other things together, and he'd come over and borrow tools from me, a hammer and a saw or something, and a chainsaw, and I'd go and he borrowed my rototiller, and I'd borrow his lawn tractor and some other tools, and we just share back and forth all the time. One day he walks over and just to say hi, and I said, "Did your wife tell you that I'm ticked off at you?" He's like, "Why? What are you ticked off about? What did I do?" I said, "You keep coming and getting those tools that I borrowed. Stop it. I want to keep them in my garage so I don't have to keep coming to your house." He laughed, I laughed, we just had a good time. One day I came home from church and I said, "Hey Greg, how's it going?" He says, "Going great." He said, "What'd you do?" I said, "I just got home from church. I was preaching about you today." He says, "Because I don't keep the Sabbath?" I said, no. I said, I was talking about what a good thing it is to have good friends. And he's like, oh, that's cool. And I said, yeah. We had built a friendship. We had built a bond. We were good friends. And when 9/11 happened and the buildings crashed down, he's an engineer. And he comes to me and he says, Raj is an engineer. We design buildings so they don't crash like that. What's going on? Does the book of Revelation talk about this kind of stuff? And we had a very meaningful spiritual conversation because I had taken the time to build a friendship with him. See, when we build a redemptive friendship, when somebody has a crisis, they're going to come to their Christian friends for answers. The second step in building a culture of outreach and evangelism is to do kindness projects or servant evangelism or social justice kinds of things. Get into the community and serve in the community and help. I remember we've gone in and painted a house. We cleaned up a park. We used to wash windows. We'd take a squirt bottle and spray it on the windshields in a Walmart parking lot and take squeegees and wash the windows. And then we left a little card underneath the windshield wiper that said, we just wanted to show you God's love in a practical way. No strings attached. One day we were handing out water bottles at a state fair on a Sabbath afternoon. We were standing in front of the fairgrounds, handing out water bottles. I would be handing water bottles to my kids. I'm passing out here, passing out there, and I'm handing out water bottles as fast as I can. And this lady walks by, and she says, who's doing this? Who are you? I said, we're a church, and I named the name of the church. And she goes, I've heard of you. And I thought, that's what we're trying to do. See, we're trying to create an atmosphere where people understand that our church goes into the community and serves. That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're trying to get accomplished. And as we're doing that, we're creating a culture of outreach and evangelism amongst the church. The third thing we do is have a bridge event. It might be a Financial Peace University class at the church. It might be a healthy cooking club thing. It might be, we invited the Portland Veg Fest in one time to watch a screening of a movie. We do a God's Closet where we give away children's clothing. We have our community service center where we give away food. The idea behind a bridge event is to bring people through the doors of the church. So we open the doors wide with a non-religious event where we're not asking for decisions, we're not twisting any arms. A bridge event simply says, come, we want to teach you a class. We want to do a parenting class, a financial management class, something like that. So they walk through the doors of the church and in their mind they're going, I know somebody that goes to that church. I like them. And that church is always doing stuff outside the walls of their church into the community. They're serving our community. And I went to one of their classes. It was on finances, and I learned some really good things. That leads us to the fourth thing, and that's when we begin to sow religious literature. We give away science magazines, we give away Steps to Christ, we do a mass mailing for Bible studies, we might do a mass mailing during COVID. We did a mass mailing for the Science Magazine COVID edition, and we mailed these things out, we hand these things out, we have science news boxes, we have literature that's always available at various places around the community, and it's stamped maybe with our information on the back of it. The idea is, let's get the word out. Because once people say, I've got a friend or two to go to that church, I see that church always serving in the community. I've gone to one of their classes. It was a parenting class or a cooking class. And I've read some of their literature. It's not bad. We have begun creating a culture of evangelism where people are ready to be brought in to the church. We've created a culture within the church to say, let's go have fun together serving. Let's go have fun together handing stuff out. Because we've created this culture where everything we do revolves around the idea of reaching lost people. Now, a lot of churches do these kinds of things. They build redemptive friendships. They do kindness, serve in the community with social justice issues or some other kind of service in the community, try to make the community a better place. And they bridge to financial classes or parenting classes, those kinds of things. And they might even have good literature that they hand out at various times of the year. But they never get to the final step. Because the final step is one of the most crucial pieces in understanding what we're trying to do. And it's about getting decisions for Jesus. And so twice a year in my church, we do a reaping event, an evangelistic series where we preach the message that Seventh-day Adventists have been given with a sole purpose. It has a single purpose, and that is to get decisions for Jesus. That's what reaping meetings are all about, and that's what they do well. But we have built a culture of, wow, I know somebody that goes to that church. They're always serving in this community, doing really cool things. And I went to one of their classes, and the walls of the church didn't fall in on me. I mean, I didn't get struck by lightning. And I read some of their literature. It makes me think I should go hear some more about what they have to say. And they're having this prophecy seminar come up. I should go hear it. We did all this. And we were gearing up for our very first prophecy series at a brand new church plant. 3 of my friends gathered around me one evening and said, stop. Don't do this prophecy series. It's old-fashioned. It doesn't fit who we are as a church. We're a contemporary church. Please don't do it. Don't. It won't work. It won't work. And I stood my ground. I said, we've been building to this all along the way. And all that we've talked about are redemptive friendships and doing kind things in the community and bridging events and sowing seeds. I said, we've been building to this point. If we don't, we're leaving people on the vine. And they argued with me several hours that evening, and I wasn't backing down. And in the end, when we baptized 50 people, they came back and apologized because they said, we see how it came together. We see how it works. We see how you led the way to help people get to the point of making a decision. We had created a culture of evangelism that we never want to get very far away from, so we do it twice a year. We run these cycles twice a year because it is that important. My church understands it. People come up to me all the time now and say, Pastor, when's our next prophecy seminar? Because I have some friends I've been making and I've been building up to the point of where I'm going to be able to invite them. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.